Representative Matt Gaetz, who looks like a caricature artist drawing of me, is reportedly under investigation for an alleged sexual relationship with an underage girl because Gaetz believes that only voters should have to show ID.
The New York Times broke the news that the Justice Department has been looking into whether Gaetz had a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old and paid for her to travel with him.
An idea that I saw floating around was how, in light of Matt Gaetz' sex scandal, it's basically being compared to Hunter Biden. You know, that whole laptop scandal. I mean, sex trafficking. It's basically Hunter Biden 2.0 Republican Boogaloo. Personally, I don't think it's the same thing. They're very, very different. To understand this, let's piece this from the beginning. We'll start with Hunter Ukrainian crackhead Biden and how it all started. It's the 2020 primaries, and it's pretty clear Joseph Biden Jr., ex-vice president of the USA under the administration of Barack Hussein, clearly from Kenya and is Muslim Obama, is the definitive Democratic candidate to run against Donald Insecure Baby Hands Trump. This upsets the Don, as he was hoping that it would have been Bernie Sanders, the favorite of those who want some trouble-free college education and basic income to get their lives going. It would have been the ideal battle. America versus commie socialism. The Trump train would have certainly outdo the Bernie bus. But Sanders shot himself in the foot with his comments.
When Fidel Castro came into office, you know what he did? He had a massive literacy program. Is that a bad thing? Even though Fidel Castro did it?
There's a lot of dissidents imprisoned in Cuba.
That's right, and we condemn that.
Thus sending the Bernie bus right off the fucking cliff. So Team Twitter Rage Incarnate scrambled to find something to break apart Biden's momentum. Calling him an old man kept backfiring, especially when you compare the videos that surface of Trump's descent down a ramp at West Point like a penguin, and Biden jogging up that very ramp without breaking a sweat. The Democratic National Convention week showed promise, a bright future. The RNC week was bragging and screaming, and Don Jr.'s coked out eyes, Melania giving so less of a fuck it cannot be seen with even the most powerful microscope. And Trump talking and talking and talking and not even shutting the fuck up. Trust me, I've watched every single night. So with all that working against Trump, what do? Well, we hit him low. We go towards the family. You see, during Joe's VP tenure, Hunter was a board member of a Ukrainian gas company called Burisma. During that time, Biden was on camera publicly saying,
I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
It's easy pickings. Context be damned. It's the internet. And Trump is president. His words above anything the triggered mainstream media tries to put out as truth. It even helps that Hunter also had a bad drug addiction that was documented quite a bit. The best story to sell to the population. Crackhead Hunter making bank off of his daddy's position in cohorts with the corrupted nation of the Ukraine. Why, send your personal lawyer and get some gunpowder evidence, and Biden's ship will sink like the Titanic. Too bad the person they sent to do the work is Rudy. Rudolph, the red-nosed New York City Mayor Giuliani, whose teeth should be its own haunted house exhibit. He managed to get emails that weren't so incriminating when in the broader aspects of business meetings, and even more so in the context of whatever Hunter does, never connected to Joe in any way. Ever. And by any stretch of the imagination. Okay? That's okay. It's all okay. We got a plan B. and it involves the New York Post. In mid-October of 2020, as election day was coming closer, the magazine published emails alleging that, yes indeed, Hunter was arranging a Burisma board advisor to get him face-to-face to Vice President Biden. But Biden denied it, even backed up by his foreign policy advisor, Michael Carpenter, who said he never met with this dude. And the PDFs of the emails were pretty questionable in authenticity. Many of the writers in the New York Post were even uncomfortable running this story. Okay, that backfired. Plan C. The laptop. Rudy, along with his best buddy, Steve Bannon, a former Trump advisor, claimed there was a laptop discovered to have incriminating evidence. They got a hold of this laptop by a blind computer repair shop owner from Delaware, who claimed Hunter left it there with water damage. Well, yeah, Hunter took this to a shop in Delaware during the tenure that Hunter was in Los Angeles, which means he had to flow across the nation all the way back to Delaware to drop off a waterlogged laptop with incriminating evidence.
That makes sense to me.
It was pretty clear that this was some Russian intel play, and they really fucked it up, because this story lost its legs. Didn't hurt Biden in the polls, and after a headache of an election, Joe was put into office January of 2021. That story died with Trump's chances at a second term, alongside a couple of officers. Now, what about Matt Gaetz? At the time of the allegations, Gaetz was already in the best position of his career, a U.S. representative, and his only setback so far that people can try to make fun of was driving under the influence. Got everything going for him, and his stunts made today's talking points on any cable news network as much as Trump's does. Just as Trumpian as the rest. Even keeping his seat in the 2020 elections. You know, the fraudulent one that didn't, because while Biden won, you got Mitch McConnell keeping his office, and Trump defender Susan Collins, hell, even gained 2 Republican nutcases in the ranks. Laura Boebert and Marjorie Taylor, Jewish lasers cause California wildfires green. Matt had it good. But out of the blue, he started floating around the idea of not seeking re-election in the 2022 midterms, aiming to be a news media contributor. Something smells fishy in Tallahassee. And during the last months of Trump's term, Gaetz was floating around the idea of a preemptive pardon when Trump was trying to do all his shtick in one go.
President Trump should pardon Michael Flynn. He should pardon the Thanksgiving turkey. He should pardon everyone from himself to his administration officials to Joe Exotic if he has to.
Which means he'd be clear of whatever will happen in the future. Break out the Febreze. It's rotten. It turns out Gaetz is quite the party animal. About on par with college frat boys with too much booze and testosterone running on the brains of their dicks. Even during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when he hosted a party in Jersey to say screw you to New York City's COVID restrictions alongside young, influential Republican voters.
That is Representative Matt Gaetz.
But there's this buddy of his, Joel Greenberg, who is frequently looking for something to bang alongside Gaetz. Even though Greenberg got a job as a tax collector for Seminole County, Florida in 2016, the same year Gaetz won his position as a representative for Florida's 1st. Unlike Gaetz, Greenberg didn't hold on to that position for long. When up for re-election, Joe tried to blackmail his opponent, a teacher, with allegations of underage sex and white supremacy. He had to resign after charges of federally stalking the poor bastard. And trust me, they were desperate for poon. Even going as far as Greenberg recruiting young girls, offering money through Cash App transactions, sending them across state lines so that they can circumvent age of consent laws. According to one particular story where the girl was 17. And after a good bang, Gaetz would flaunt his exploits and the evidence for all to see. Well, thanks for the paper trails, dumbass. Federal prosecutors are making Greenberg sing like a canary, striking up a plea deal to spare him the worst. 10 years minimum prison, and whatever else gets tackled on to sex with a 17-year-old, plus 33 counts of corruption and embezzlement in his career. Under an investigation started by Trump's other personal attorney, Department of Justice's William Barr. You'd have to screw up very badly to warrant an investigation by the guy who corrupted the Department of Justice, single-handedly. So, this here's the part where we try to say, okay, Matt Gaetz' scandal cannot be Hunter Biden 2.0. Hunter's scandal was a bit of a political stunt manufactured by the Trump team, trying to win an election. Gaetz was caused by his political stunts, and nothing could be gained with Gaetz being indicted. I mean, he's a representative, not a senator, where the Democrats and the Republicans are tied, with VP Kamala Harris as a tiebreaker, and she doesn't even have the vote party line. It's a stalemate there. Him going ain't gonna do anything. The evidence that pointed out Hunter was corrupted was questionably fake and couldn't held much substance, if any. Gaetz has quite a paper trail, backed by unfortunate souls who had to see his pics, and transactions archived by Venmo, Cash App, and even Apple Pay. Hunter and Joe was solid on their denials of wrongdoing. Matt went on Fox News, whining on Tucker Carlson, and even might have got his ass in trouble with this line.
You and I went to dinner about 2 years ago. Your wife was there, and I brought a friend of mine. You'll remember her. And she was actually threatened by the FBI.
I don't remember the woman you're speaking of or the context at all, honestly.
Hunter's wasn't enough to stop Biden, evident now that Biden is president, despite all the actions going on to undo it. Gaetz' scandal is big enough that everybody's throwing him under a bus, with Trump denying about being asked for a pardon by Gaetz. But then again, Trump is a habitual liar, so we can't really trust his word, now can we? Hunter never had to beg for help with winning people over, all things considered. Gaetz was trying to fundraise money with an ad using fake footage by Project Veritas.
They lie about me because I tell the truth about them, and I'm not gonna stop.
And stealing a Trump meme.
They aren't really coming for me. They're coming for you. I'm just in the way.
And even doing a tour with Marjorie Taylor Greene. As of this video, Hunter remains a free man. Matt? He might not be soon enough. For you see, the Gaetz scandal, it's not going to be the same as Hunter Biden's scandal. One was a hit job. And the other one, this one, was a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head.